Hello everyone, my name is Cap. I am a Pikmin 2 speedrunner, and for AGDQ 2019 I'm going to be submitting the payoff deck category for Pikmin 2, which is the any percent equivalent from Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2 is a great game. It's considered by many to be a favorite of the Pikmin series, and it has yet to be submitted to a GDQ, and I think that now that the meta has really changed in the last year, I think that it's a really interesting speedrun that, that's a fan favorite and deserves to have the spotlight on the speedrunning stage. The main goal of Pikmin 2 Payoff Debt is, in the story of Pikmin 2, Olimar, in the events of Pikmin 1, Olimar is a captain, and he crashed his ship on a planet, and the Pikmin helped him build it together. And when Olimar returned to his home planet, he found that the company that he worked for had gone into a massive amount of debt. But it turns out that the planet that he crash landed on has a bunch of artifacts like bottle caps and batteries, human artifacts, and those are worth a lot of money on Olimar's planet. So Olimar and his new partner Louie were sent back to the planet that Olimar crash landed on in Pikmin 1 to collect a bunch of treasures to pay off the debt. So in this category, it's the any percent equivalent, where we just want to collect as much expensive treasures as possible to pay off the debt as quickly as possible. And time starts on file select and ends right before the credit starts after paying off the debt. I have world record in this category as of time of this submission with a 141.35. However, and the estimate is going to be a 155, so I'm very confident that even with resets and other problems that I would be able to do this within the reasonable estimate. So I'm gonna start, and then I can start talking about the run. So the way that the Pikmin 2 works is that the day one of Pikmin 2, which is started right here, they take you through this whole tutorial thing that's very tedious and very long, especially for an experienced runner. But there is a way to skip all of that by killing a Pikmin. Normally, you aren't supposed to be able to kill a Pikmin on day one, but we found a way to do that by throwing them out of bounds. So we're going to do that for day one to skip a large tutorial section of the game. So you'll see that here. So I'm going to be trying to whistle one Pikmin here. If I whistle 2 or 3, that's also okay. So I got 1. That was really good. So then I go back, and I'm going to be angling my Pikmin a certain way so that it actually ricochets and goes out of bounds, which you see here. And then I'm able to drag it further out of bounds to kill it, causing a Pikmin extinction. So that was really good, and of course that saved. That was the first major trick of the game, and we already have saved massive amounts of time. But now, of course, in order to continue with the game, we need a certain amount of Pikmin. Namely, we need 15 Pikmin to get rid of the first paper bag that gets us out of the spawn area. So the next little bit is going to be playing through a bunch of mandatory cutscenes and farming the Pikmin. But the good news is that since we've killed Pikmin on day 1, we get to control when cutscenes happen. So a large element of this game is to make sure that cutscenes are being played while other things are going on. The main heart and soul of the Pikmin 2 speedrun is multitasking. Because of course, doing 2 things at once is faster than doing 1 thing. The good news about Pikmin 2 is most of the cutscenes, with the exception of this one and another notable one, are skippable. So cutscenes don't usually waste a lot of time in this game, thankfully, because you can skip 90% of them. But but this is just sort of growing. The game also will, give us another cutscene to do when we kill that Bulborb. No, you know, all Bulbs have a decent amount of health, but if you aim your cursor really well and throw a Pikmin right on top of its hurt box, then it one-shots it, and so that's really important in the speedrun, and in the future, you know, getting those one-shots on the Bulborb. So the moment that these sprouts hit the ground, they are considered planted, and I can actually end this day early to continue the farming. And start, and we manually end the day here, because we need to still grow more Pikmin in order to continue on with the run. Alright. Day 3 is really short. It's actually less than a minute. We just need to quickly grow 4 more Pikmin in order to get enough to continue on with the day. Skip this cutscene, and you'll notice that the 4 Pikmin that we let plant last game are still there, so that's really good. Quickly, one needs to go onto there. And with those, we do the same thing where we wait for the last Pikmin to hit the ground, and then we have ended day 3, and that's the end of the farming. Day 1 extinction probably saves around a minute, because we get to basically, because this farming is relatively quick compared to the very tedious tutorial that the game makes you go through. Another element that you'll see on day 4 is we get to flower our Pikmin early, and when that happens I can talk about all of the benefits to flowering your Pikmin. Because, you know, this game, you're really limited by, you know, how fast your Pikmin are, right? You are beholden to your Pikmin. So getting your Pikmin to move things as quickly as possible is important. And there are 3 variations of Pikmin. As you see now, I'm working with Leaf Pikmin, but there's also Bud Pikmin and Flower Pikmin. And Flower Pikmin carry, at least for red, yellow, and blue, Flower Pikmin carry twice as fast as red Pikmin, so obviously, as Leaf Pikmin, so obviously that's very important. Now that I have 15 Pikmin, I can actually break down this bag right here, and move on with the speedrun. I throw those 4 very specifically there, because I'm going to have to pick them up later. Then I want 6 on the first one, and 5 on the second one, for staggering purposes that I will show off in a second. I throw 1 Pikmin over there so that it attacks those when they spawn to multitask, and then I have 10 Pikmin right here. That's very important because that's just enough to grab onto that 10 pellet. And then that Pikmin can start carrying those back so that we're doing really good multitasking and staggering with all of the pellets so we can grow a large amount of Pikmin. That's really unfortunate. As you saw there, when I broke open that egg expecting nectar, but instead bugs came out instead of nectar. Those are called metites. There's a 5% chance that they show up. It's pretty unfortunate RNG, but in this case, it won't lose me that much time. But in other instances, it can be really frustrating when you want to get nectar to continue to flower your Pikmin, because that's what nectar does, and you get metites. It's just sort of an unfortunate RNG element in this game. So I'm now moving all the Pikmin, and once I get them together, I'm going to try to get the nectared on these 2. If I don't succeed, then I still have a 3rd nectar patch. Yeah, I'm going to have to use the 3rd one. Now I have all my Pikmin nectared, which is really good. And you see the flower Pikmin are moving a lot faster, which is nice. And now I can knock down this bag. I'm actually C-sticking as I'm throwing, so I'm throwing, when you throw Pikmin, you're limited by how fast the Pikmin can, you know, be grabbed. So by using my C-stick here, which is how I move my Pikmin, I can throw twice as fast as most casual players can throw. So it really helps when you're trying to load things up on bags. So normally in this game in day 1, you're supposed to collect the battery, which you sort of see in the upper end of my screen right here. But instead we don't do that because we can collect it later. So That's another large time save. So that we get to enter Emergence Cave much faster than you would casually. I'm playing this cutscene, which is unskippable, but we actually don't mind that it's unskippable here, because what we do here is, while this cutscene was playing, the wall that you saw me load Pikmin on earlier was getting knocked down during that entire sequence. So since we have to wait for the Pikmin to get knocked down anyway, it's a really convenient time to play that cutscene. Because it's going to finish right as I arrive back. So a really good example of multitasking. Then this cutscene plays. It also deserves to be said that text works really interesting in this game, and that you actually have to, in order to move text quickly, you have to press A and B in a very specific rhythm to make it go as fast as possible. So getting all of these really fast texts is really difficult. In any case, we've now entered our first cave. Caves are where most of your treasures are going to be. They're very small levels that are randomly generated. We see we get good RNG here because in Pikmin 2, you really want the largest treasures to be like closer, because Pikmin carry large treasures slower than the fast treasures. So that was really good RNG. And also really good execution. Like the bugs really didn't bother us that much because I was able to throw enough Pikmin to distract them, and I was able to get the treasures moving as quickly as possible. But as you see, the small treasure still came in first before the large treasure because, you know, small treasures are carried faster. So if you can, so you notice that I went for the farther treasure first, and that's just, you know, sort of basically, you know, managing your Pikmin and making sure you quickly go for the correct objectives. Like, you don't want to just go for the first treasure you see. You want to know where all of the treasures are. And then sort of make a judgment call of what you want to go through first. Emergence Cave is just a very easy example of that because this is, you know, as the first level of the game, it's a pretty straightforward, simple level. This is the Spherical Atlas. This is, as you can see, a globe. This is how poetically you unlock the next area. However, it has a weight of 101, and because you can only have 100 Pikmin on the field, it's the game's way of telling you that you can't classically carry that back to the ship. So what you have to do is you have to get these Pikmin, which are going to be some of the most important Pikmin types in the game, which are purple Pikmin. Purple Pikmin are very, very, very slow, but they are also ridiculously powerful. They can stun enemies, and possibly as important, they can also have a carry factor of 10. I had to distract that dude before he ate people. That can be really fast. Alright, so as you can see, because of the power of purple Pikmin, whoops. So I'm carrying those bugs back, and so you might be asking me why I'm doing that, why I'm carrying bugs back, but collecting bugs is actually really important. Oops, that Pikmin was lazy and didn't come with us. It didn't matter. But bugs, as you can see, the ship proceeds to not like bugs. And bugs are not worth that much, but they are still worth some things. And throughout the run, I will be trying to get around 200 Pokos worth of bug bodies, which is a lot. Because the goal is, in order to pay off the debt, you have to get 10,000. So 200 for just collecting bugs is a pretty significant chunk of that. But in any case, with the help of Pearl Pikmin, we were allowed to get the globe. I was able to get 4 whole Pokos and bug bodies. Pokos are the unit of cash. And we have completed our first cave. Congratulations, Emergence Cave is now over. Unfortunately, as you will find, a lot of the other caves are not going to be as nice as Emergence Cave. And they will proceed to get more challenging and will force me to multitask and to suffer through even more challenges. But this was basically the first area. Normally you would get through this area in 2 days, but of course it takes us 4 because of our day 1 extinction strats. This is actually sort of a unique, weird thing where you normally would think that the fastest speedrun has the lowest day count, but that's not true because of the fact that day 1 extinction plus farming is faster than the tutorial section, so the lowest possible number of days you can beat the game is much lower than the number of days that you would complete either payoff debt or all treasures in a speedrun, which is sort of interesting and perhaps unexpected. So we've now arrived at the second area, Awakening Wood. And we need a little bit more Pikmin to feel secure, so I'm going to do a little bit of a growth pattern here, but also there's this really large wall that takes forever to knock down. It's this wall right up here. And so basically while I'm growing a little bit of Pikmin here and there, I'm going to have most of my Pikmin be working on this wall because it takes forever to knock down. But of course I take that opportunity to, well, most of my Pikmin are knocking down that wall to continue to grow things. Alright. By the end I should have around 73 Pikmin, if all goes well. Sometimes Pikmin can be really obnoxious with how they decide to grab onto things, so you have to police them a little bit. Alright. Red Pikmin are actually most useful because there's really 2 Pikmin that are of maximum importance in the payoff debt speedrun, and it is purples, which we've already met, and whites, but you can't grow purples and whites above ground. You have to use those flowers that you saw me use in caves to get more purples and whites. So, but because we need to use reds to convert into purples and whites, which you will meet in a couple minutes, then we need to make sure that we have enough Pikmin not only to grow those purples and whites, but to also have enough to be able to sufficiently multitask in carrying treasures back to the ship. So as you can see, I was able to get 73 Pikmin, and in turn this gate is almost done. And of course I need to nectar all of my Pikmin that I spent so much time growing. If I don't nectar all of them, it's okay. I kill that guy because he'll be a pain in the butt. And then I actually throw a purple up there. You actually aren't supposed to be able to do that. You're supposed to be able to only access that treasure with yellow Pikmin, which is a Pikmin type that we aren't even going to be getting this run. The Pikmin 2 payoff that speedrun does not get yellow Pikmin because we've found ways of making them obsolete, at least in this speedrun. But purple Pikmin have so much momentum that we can actually have them climb up slopes when we throw them, get to treasures that you couldn't normally get to. So this treasure was a little bit far away, which is unfortunate, but it allows us to bring back a decent number of bugs with us, so even though it is not the best placement of the treasure in terms of how long it's taking it to come back, I'm using that moment to bring back as much bugs as possible to make it worth it. Hole of Beasts doesn't have that many treasures in it, but they have a lot of valuable treasures, so this is the only other cave in which we are going to be cave completing this run. See, because we only care about paying off the debt, so we actually don't need to get every treasure that we come across. We only need to get the really expensive ones. The ones worth a lot. Now, as it turns out, in Hole of Beasts and Emergence Cave, perhaps intentionally, all the treasures that are there are really expensive, so we end up having it be worth it to cave completing the entire area. As you see, this floor is a rest level, so this is getting the majority of the purples that we will need throughout the run. I'll be getting 5 more purples much later in the game to ensure that I have enough for the entire run, but That was mainly a main growth stage, so it's really not that stressful. Full of Beast 3, we need to do this with all reds because there's these fire hazards. Now, you can actually kill the fire hazards with the red Pikmin, but as it stands, there's really no reason to do that because we don't have any whites, and purples carry things a lot slower than reds, so it's actually fastest to just take reds into this and not really worry. That leaf decided to start attacking the geysers, but that's fine because it's a leaf and they carry slower than the flowers anyway. And you know that that you played this sublevel really well if you see that the only treasures that you need to collect are coming in at around the same time. That means that you really staggered them well and that you have good timing on that front. You'll notice that as I was walking, a little more got hit by a fire geyser twice, and I'm now lost 2/3 of my health. That might seem troubling, but it's actually not because you get healed at the end of every. You get healed after every cave and after entering every cave, so it's actually really hard for your captain to die. If your captain dies in a speedrun, it's pretty much a reset. I mean, it really would hamper your gameplay. So in this sublevel, there's this big Bulborb that we need to kill because it has a Game & Watch inside of it. Don't ask me the physics of how that's possible. And then we have a playing card that we also need to grab. And then I'm actually going to be looking for Matites, and I think I know where they are. That mostly Matites are random, but in Hole of Beasts there is an alcove that will always contain Matites, and I think it's over here, and it is. And so the reason why we really like that is whenever you kill a Matite, and on day 4 I wasn't able to because I only had my captains, but when you kill the Matites, they all release nectar drops. So it's a really easy way to get nectar and to make sure that everyone is nectared up. And also, I get to get all of the bug bodies that the Matites have. So that's an extra 10 Pokos as well. So coming up is going to be the first boss called the Empress and Empress Bulbax. And with the help of myself and several other speedrunners, we've developed a really fast quick kill that I'm going to see if I can pull off in this submission video. But the timing is really tight. We'll see if I got it. So this is a giant boss, but if we load up all the Pikmin, I want to see if I can trick it into rolling. Yep. Quick kill done. So we don't actually get to see any of what that boss would do to hurt you because we already killed it. So you could say it was a boss done quick, if you will. And we're able now to collect the corpse of the boss, which is 15 Pokos, which is a lot for a bug. And we're able to get this very valuable treasure that it drops. And the treasure gauge is one of the most important treasures in the game. Unlike other treasures, boss treasures usually give you a new ability. And the ability that the prototype detector / the treasure gauge gives you, it gives you a gauge at the bottom right corner of your screen. Which will tell you when treasure is really close, which will be very helpful in determining, where the treasures are in the more complicated sublevels. So that was a very fast Hole of Beasts because of the quick kill. Recently, a lot more steps have been done in the last year to really figure out how the AI bosses work. And so, like, the boss fights in Pikmin 2 have become a lot more refined, and it's been really satisfying to see because they've been developing a lot more consistent strats. So now that I have 20 purples, I'm able to knock down this bag, which requires 200 weight, which I conveniently have with the 20 purples because they're 10 each. And then it's just a quick hop, skip, and a jump to the next cave already, which is White Flower Garden, which I will leave it to the viewers to determine what kind of Pikmin we could create in White Flower Garden. The first sub-level is pretty straightforward. It's sort of similar to Hole of Beasts 1, where we just have to find out where the first treasure is, and then we can farm a lot of bugs, which is really useful. Because we get this guy, which is the 25 weight, and then I have all these purples, so I throw the purples, and the purples can one-shot, because they do, like, ridiculous amounts of damage. They do, I think, you know, their pound, when they hit the ground, they make little, like, pounds or stomps, and those stomps, like, do, you know, like, 250% damage compared to, like, their normal hit. So, purple Pikmin are very, very important in, you know, in killing enemies really quickly. You'll see that as well with the boss on this floor, which is the Brewing Snagret. With plenty of bugs collected, I'm now able to move on to the next one. You won't really see me wait for a lot of bugs to be collected. I usually try to move from sub-level to sub-level as quickly as possible because it's a speedrun. But, of course, it is an interesting speedrun in the sense of where, you know, it's a speedrun of how quickly you can pay off the debt. So sometimes you have to make judgment calls between time and money. Because, of course, if you get more money now, then it's less money you have to get later, which could save time. So, in doing the speedrun, in order to actually be truly very fast, you have to do a bunch of, you know, a bunch of math and a bunch of judgment calls midway. And that's why I really like this speedrun is, you know, some of the layouts are randomly generated. Like, I don't know exactly where everything's gonna be. I know what treasures, the treasures are always the same and the enemies are always the same, and there's usually some similarities in the pattern, but really it's just reacting to slightly different layouts. And being able to figure out what the exact fastest strat for a specific layout is. And I find that that is, you know, it's challenging in a good way. It really, like, means that you have to always be alert, and because if you accidentally make a bad judgment call about how to go, you know, through a sub-level, you could lose 30 seconds to a minute. So sub-level 3 is where we get introduced to white Pikmin, as the name of the cave overall suggests. We get 15 here. We just have as much as we want. White Pikmin are probably the most important Pikmin type in the game. They are the fastest Pikmin type, which means they carry treasures the fastest, which of course inherently makes them some of the most valuable, because, you know, the faster that they carry the treasures, you know, the faster I can get through these sub-levels, you know, and that's obvious, you know, I don't have to explain the utility of carrying things very quickly. But they also, at the same time, they are immune to poison, like red Pikmin are immune to fire, and if they are eaten, they are also poisonous, so they can actually kill. If they end up getting eaten, they can kill the enemy for us. Since purple Pikmin are the slowest here, I'm trying to whistle off as much purples as possible and replacing them with whites, which will increase the carry speed. Now it's time for a little fun mini-game while I wait for that to happen. Ooh, I got one up there. Getting Pikmin onto that little rafter there is considered good luck. So, this submission has been blessed with good luck by getting a Pikmin onto those rafters. Yeah, so white Pikmin are carrying things very quick, and are poisonous, and are immune to poison themselves. And as you can see, I almost forgot because I was so used to it, they can also dig up buried treasures. So that treasure wasn't there in the beginning, but the white Pikmin were able to see it and dig it up from underground. And so they're the most versatile Pikmin type and the most important. So this is actually a good example of, in this category, in this sub-level, there's two treasures. There is the lipstick, the chapstick, and there is the mushroom. And as you see, I'm skipping the mushroom. Alright. This was bad RNG because it's on that stump, which is really hard to get to. And it was really far away. So I'd say this was pretty bad RNG, but that's sort of how it goes, where it's far away. But we only are getting the chapstick. We are not getting, which is, I believe it's called Survival Ointment, aptly. The names of these treasures are actually very clever. So I hope you can join me in enjoying them. But as you see, the treasure gauge, you know, still is like, hey, there's another treasure here, but we don't get it because the toxic toadstool, which is a mushroom, is only worth 30 Pokos. And it takes way too much time to get for 30 Pokos. And so, we will not be completing this cave. Which is by design. Because since the only goal is to pay off debt, we get to skip treasures that are not worth that much. And actually deciding which treasures to skip is a large element of this game. Purple Pikmin are busted, so that's why that boss went down really quickly, if you were wondering. Purple Pikmin, when they hit an enemy, just do so much damage. They're an invaluable resource. Not the best carry. I would have liked if there was a little bit more whites on the knapsack. But it is what it is. So the knapsack is actually the most important treasure in Pikmin 2. Hello. It allows you to nap, which, and then Pikmin will carry you and return you to the ship. Now, casually, it seems like a pretty useless skill, but it turns out that the knapsack is really busted, especially how it behaves. So we're going to be using it for what is going to be the most important trick of the entire speedrun. It's coming up right now. I'm actually saving here, as I would in GDQ, because there is a potential for things to soft lock, which is unfortunate. But this is the most important trick, where we use knapsacking to get blues early. Normally you need to get blue Pikmin by unlocking yellows first, but that's really slow. And so we actually do something where we get blues now. So the first thing that we have to do is I have to get up onto this ledge. And I do it by having the Pikmin carry me. Because Pikmin will carry you to the nearest waypoint when you knapsack. So by having the knapsack, it allows Pikmin to carry us you know, up slopes even. Because of how the game works. Next, I will be using the scale glitch. Because a cutscene is playing while the scales are moving, Olimar clips through, and it allows me to walk almost out of bounds in this section. And then I'm going to try to do a warp, which I will explain in a second. And I succeeded! Yay! Congratulations! So basically what happens is that I run off into the void, I'm almost out of bounds, and I'm walking to a very specific location, and I'm running into the void, and then I knapsack. And when you knapsack, the game thinks you are an object versus a captain. It's why Pikmin pick you up in the first place. But when an object goes out of bounds, it actually warps to the nearest waypoint on the map. And where I ran off in that specific direction, and I use another knapsack here, by the way, to get up to here. It needs to be a blue knapsack, but it works. But in any case, I run off and I hit X at a very specific time so that I fall into the void while napping. So the game thinks I'm an object, and then it warps me to this blue onion area, which if you see the electric gate off to the left here, I shouldn't be able to be in this area yet. Oh, the log pole hit. Oh, the log pole hit my Pikmin off the treasure, so he didn't carry it. Log poles are really annoying. But in any case, while the Snagret Hole, which is the next cave we're going to go to, while that gate's being knocked down, we're collecting this treasure above ground. The first treasure we collect above ground, by the way. We can't do that. And I'm growing a decent number of blues. They won't be able to come with me into Snagret Hole. Only Pikmin that are with you at the hole get to go. But, the blue Pikmin will be waiting for us when we get back. So Snagret Hole is, probably one of the more challenging caves in the game, actually. Because we used a large sequence break called Early Blues, the difficulty of the caves rapidly increases. For this cave, the orange Bulborbs will wake up on their own. So I take advantage of that to lure them to this area. And there's only the marble on this, but the Bulborb walks a lot faster than the Pikmin carry, so I'm able to lure it to just drastically cut down the amount of time you need. And if you're confident in your purple Pikmin's ability to just, you know, demolish the enemy, then you know, it's ridiculously fast, and I'm not that worried about the orange Bulborb actually eating my Pikmin. There is actually a feather also on that stage. Oh, and this is terrible RNG. Look at this water. Luckily, I can just call my Pikmin, and my Pikmin can swim, albeit not that well. That was unfortunate. Water is slow. It's not the end of the world, but you would prefer not to have to wade your Pikmin through water. A red Pikmin died, but this is where we sort of get into the brutal world of Pikmin 2 speedrunning. Reds don't really matter compared to purples and whites. Those are like the really important Pikmin. So as long as 1 or 2 reds die, it's not really important. So your death tolerance for certain Pikmin is really lenient. I say certain Pikmin very specifically. Because certain Pikmin, you just don't care if they live or die. Because, you know, there's, you know, much bigger fish to fry. So I'm moving back here. Now that I'm getting you don't get the sushi, you only really want... But I'm growing more whites, while the treasure is getting carried back anyway, you know, to be efficient. Move Louie there. And so hopefully the more whites you have, the faster you can carry these treasures carried and moving quickly. Uh-oh. Louie almost died. That was scary. You gotta be careful, guys. At first I didn't see the bug, so I wasn't ready for it. Another red Pikmin drowned. That's unfortunate. But we're moving on. So in this next one, there's 2 Snagrets. Only one has the treasure. And luckily, because of the treasure gauge, it's not actually a mystery, which is which. Let's see, is it over here? Yes, it is. The treasure gauge pinging really loud. It tells us which direction to go. That's really nice of it. While the Snagret is busy dying, I start the Pikmin working on that. I'm gonna wait for the Snagret head to come in to really get those 10 Pokos, really maximize my output there. Boom, got the money, and now we're running. So on the next 2 sub-levels, we only really want 2 treasures on this sub-level. One is a marble that we can really easily see, and one is a cannon beetle that falls from the sky. So I don't know where the cannon beetle is, but I can see right there where the marble is. So I just go for the marble first, and if I'm lucky, the cannon beetle will be close by. But if it's not, then it's still a win-win, because, you know, I then know where it isn't. You'll see me often throw purples onto enemies while I'm finding other enemies, because Pearl Pikmin, as you can see, so I am not going to fight that, because it doesn't seem that the treasure that I want doesn't seem to be over there, which means I know it's over here. So, process of elimination is a very powerful tool. You'll also see me zoom in a lot. The game doesn't, unless I was wrong, whoops, I think I was a little bit wrong, which happens to the best of us, but did I? Oh, it was right here. The cherry masked its location. But that's the cannon beetle. Whoops. See, mistakes are really easy in this game, and I accidentally missed that. Mistakes happen, though. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just like, you know, small mistakes like that in the long run will cost you. But I load. Uh-oh. That was very bizarre. Sometimes it can be frustrating because you know, the treasures can be sort of in weird orientations that the Pikmin aren't really familiar with, that can't really grab onto easily because the AI is a little wonky. That's frustrating. But I was also able to get, and although it didn't really seem that important in this cave, I was able to get 10 extra Pokos and Bug Bodies. So just again, maximizing, you know, how much Bug Bodies you grab will save time in the long run, even when you make mistakes. Alright, so the next, this cave features a really annoying enemy called an antenna beetle. As you can see, my treasure gauge is really wonky because of this enemy. So once I kill it, it should return back to normal. Wow, and I got really lucky. So, that marble can be in any one of the Bulborbs that fall from the sky, but it turned out to be the one really close to the spawn. So I got really lucky there. So now, hey, but now that I know that it's there, now all I have to do is make my way to the exit. And you might see a couple other Bulborbs fall from the sky like that one. But of course, you know, we already know where the treasures are. But if you don't kill the antenna beetle, then it's really hard to tell because without the gauge, you have absolutely no clue which Bulborb has the marble. And so I just got really, really lucky that the first Bulborb had the marble. But of course, you want to kill the antenna beetle as fast as possible before you even look at that, because you have no clue which one of these Bulborbs that fall from the sky are going to be the one that you want. So this next sublevel is really annoying because it kind of waters, so the number of treasures I can get on this sublevel are very variable. We'll see. The quickest thing to do here is to figure out where the exit is by pausing and head towards that. So that's what I'm going to do here. There's an antenna beetle here, so, oh, wow. I got, this falling Bulborb always has the treasure. So that's really convenient. So I would say this has been a great hole so far. And then I get to head towards this exit, and then now we get to do the second boss. So wow, this was a very good Snagret Hole. The 2 was really bad with all the water, but I was able to basically go through 5 and 6 very quickly. Because I just head to the exit and get whatever treasures I see along the way. The Pileated Snagret is a very hard boss to one cycle. We actually have to sacrifice a couple of reds in order to get it done. Because it has so much health that we have to take advantage of its long eating animation. And down. We lost one purple there, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. The real question is, where is the hole? The geyser. The geyser's over there. I'm gonna get all this squad so I can knock down the gate. Gates are unfortunate on 7, but I was able to one-cycle the boss really well, so I'm happy for that. And well, I have exactly 340, which is 3,400, which is sort of crazy considering that with all the bugs you're getting, the number of Pokos that you have at any given time are sort of random, so it's sort of cool that we're ending this cave on an even number. Of course, the boss is the only treasure here, so now that we have it, we can leave, and we are done with Snagret Hole. And of course, after we, maybe not of course you're not familiar with the game, but when you exit a cave, all the onions return to their spawn positions. So now the blue onion has moved from the very inconvenient spot where we can't get it to really close to us, so we can, you know, now use the blues to collect several above-ground treasures in Awakening Wood that are very valuable. So first, we're gonna throw that purple onto that grass where they can get a lot of nectar for us, hopefully, if life is good. Then there's also a buried treasure up here that I'm gonna quickly throw whites on, right there. So we're gonna be digging that up. And then I'm gonna send these to the blue onion. Throwing exactly 3 purples there for me, so I will display. This also is gonna go to the blue onion. Ooh. It turns out the purple Pikmin will bounce between the red onion and the blue onion, because of course it doesn't have an onion to take to on its own. So, and there's a 2/3 chance it goes to red and a 1/3 chance it goes to blue. So the fact that that purple Pikmin decided to take it to the blue onion all on its own is statistically less likely. And now Olimar, because I napped there, has enough Pikmin to go and do some more knapsack trickery to get up to Bulbax Kingdom and to carry this treasure that you'll notice I got down way before in the speedrun in Hole of Beasts, and that's why I brought it down so it can be easily collected in this split. And then we use one knapsack to get up onto this ledge, and then we use another knapsack. Whoops. This knapsack can be a little finicky. To get up onto this ledge. Right as this strawberry gets collected, which is very nice. And that's it telling us that we can only have 100 Pikmin on the stage at a time, which is correct. So that means that now all of the blue Pikmin being born are still being created. They're just being created in the onion. So I'm basically, you know, while I'm plucking all these blues, I'm just continuing to grow more, since we need a lot of blues for the other sections of the game to go really quickly. So reds at this point have sort of become obsolete. Actually, in a little bit, I'm going to be putting them away and taking out blues instead. So if white Pikmin and purple Pikmin are your specialists, then like blue and reds are sort of your meat. They're sort of your cannon fodder. Of course, you need, you know, these reds and these blues to exist to, you know, help swarming and to help, you know, these treasure collections, but the actual numbers of them aren't really that important. So now we've created enough blues, we can put these reds away. And after this last treasure comes in right here, then we can get the blues out and continue. This split is really nice in the modern route because we don't cross a threshold. You'll notice that every single time we cross like 30% or 40% of the debt, we play a little cutscene. So luckily we don't do that here, but we used to in previous routes, so it saves us a lot of cutscene time. And now that we've flowered most of our blues, which is what that purple Pikmin is there for, we can now enter Bulbax Kingdom. As you can see, is right here. And this is the last cave of Awakening Wood. So, with this, then we can now move on. All right. So, only one Bulborb has the treasure, it's this guy. So I'm gonna lure him again. So, of course, that was ridiculously quick because we were able to get the, lure the Bulborb basically to the ship, which is fantastic. And that was a very quick and good day 1. Sorry, sub-level 1. Alright, sub-level 2, I'm gonna be trying to get rid of the hazards as quickly as possible, and then have white Pikmin carry the treasure too. So I'm gonna see if I can have the white Pikmin ignore the hazards here, if I can. So I use white Pikmin and I use the C-stick to get them up here. Pikmin are on fire. That's actually sort of okay. So I just wanted to make sure that the white Pikmin were safe, and they were. So once again, another, so the first 2 sublevels of Bulbax Kingdom are pretty straightforward, because there's only 1 treasure, and then we actually skip sublevel 3, because it's a buried treasure worth 40 Pokos, and 40 Pokos is not that much, and the buried treasure takes forever to get, because you have to dig it up. So we actually immediately skip the sub-level, so that's really nice and quick. And prevents us from cave completing, because cave complete takes even longer, because you have to watch through the whole celebration animation as you complete the cave. So we can't see, so we're actually going a little bit more purples here. I'm leaving a captain there to pluck them. You can't really see either of the treasures that are in this sub-level, because they're both underground. I want to make sure that the other treasure isn't also in this alcove. Okay, it seems like it's not. So, there's also another, there's going to be a Wollywog that falls from the sky, a great name I know. So that was really good. We were able to isolate, find where the 2 berry ones were really quickly, and I was able to basically make it so that the... Oh no. That was unfortunate. I don't know why the Pikmin decided to take the treasure this way. It seems like it's not a very efficient route. So I will concede that I wasn't expecting that. But it's not the end of the world because I'm growing 5 more purples here. So I'll be the first to say that I was actually surprised that they did that. The way Pikmin route can sometimes be unpredictable, so I should have been ready, but I was so certain that they were going to bring it back to the benign way that I carved out earlier. Luckily, I recognized that they were going to be making that mistake before, you know, more Pikmin died, so I only lost 3 Pikmin. So that's acceptable. Thank you everyone in chat right now for the good luck. 5 we actually also skipped, because 5 is ridiculously bad. Another buried treasure. Buried treasures are usually pretty bad, especially if they're not really worth a lot, because you have to take time not just carrying, but digging. And if that's really far away from the ship, then it's really easy for that to take a lot longer than it's worth. Ooh, this is really good because I'm in the middle of 2 areas, so I can basically see if where the treasures are super quick. So, okay, so it seems that... Okay, good RNG. Yeah, really good RNG. So that's actually a really good tactic. If there's 2 directions and you don't know which direction is actually best, you can just take a captain and run ahead and then use the gauge to figure out where the really good treasures are. So I figured out that there's only 2 treasures, and by process of elimination, I know one of those treasures is right here. And then I also know from, and then of course I was able to see visually that another treasure was over here. Whoops! Bombs can drop in this area, so you have to be very careful. Alright, now that both treasures are in tow, I can safely make my way to the exit. This was very well executed. Hello. So because I'm really good on money, at the end of Bulbax Kingdom, I can determine how much like wiggle room I have in terms of the caves I want to skip in previous caves. So in the next couple caves, because as you can tell, these caves have had like a lot more enemies in them and have generally been getting harder. But the next couple caves that I'll be facing are very, 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 very difficult. So I'll be skipping some treasures in there as I'm allowed. This is a very funny boss. It was the last boss in Pikmin 1, but in Pikmin 2, they nerfed it because the devs forgot how purple Pikmin work. So you actually can load in a lot of damage as it basically rises up from the ground, because I think that like the devs forgot to put super armor or something on forgot to put super armor on the boss, so the purple Pikmin just hit it all during the loading section and just load up way too much damage. And then I use a knapsack up here to get up onto this area really quickly, otherwise it takes forever. And it's really hard without the treasure that I haven't yet gotten yet, but I will get really soon. I then bring these blue Pikmin back here to get this boss, so I can actually get the money. And this is the treasure in Bulbax Kingdom. This one now makes me impervious to fire, so that's really nice of it. Alright, so now I have the bug moving, and that should still get into the ship before the last treasure does, so I can get that money. And then Louie's waiting patiently by the geyser. Let's yeah. So the timing has been flawless. So the magic number usually is 4920, and let's see what I'm at right now. So I'm at 5073, which means I'm about 150 Pokos ahead. And that's actually because I got that treasure in Snagret Hole on 6, that falling Bulborb was very clutch and has given me a lot of wiggle room. So because of that, I'm able to skip a lot of treasures going into Valley of Repose 2. So that is what I'm going to do. All of the caves and all of the above ground treasures that we can easily collect in Awakening Wood have been collected. So we're done with it. And we won't be returning there for the rest of the run. Before we move on to Perplexing Pool, which is the area we unlocked getting the second globe piece in Ender Bulbax Kingdom, we actually want to go back to Valley of Repose and get and finish up with the really hard caves here. Once you get blue Pikmin, you get to go back to Valley of Repose and play sort of the harder area. And it lives up to its name because this is very difficult, all of the caves in this section. First order of business is that there is a gate that's submerged in water, so only blue Pikmin can get there. So the first order of business is just to make sure that that is being knocked down as quickly as humanly possible. So do that, so we get that started, and then let's see what our white and purple count is. 19 is really good, 21 is a little low. But that's because all of those Pikmin died in from electricity in Bulbax Kingdom 4, so that's unfortunate. But something I was ready for. So we make sure that enemy is dead, because that will be a pain for us later, and we actually can ignore the big Bulborb there. So we get this utter scrap moving, and we will move it halfway to the ship in this above ground section, and we're gonna move it the other halfway to the ship in the next above ground section afterwards. And then that plug that they're hitting right now actually will drain the water from that section, which will allow the rest of the Pikmin that are not blue to come into this area. But in the meantime, we're going to use the blue Pikmin to start building everything. This is a nice knapsack so that we don't have to knock down the gate to get the Submarine Complex, which you see over there. We can just get to it right here. And now we wait for the plug to finish so that I can take my whites and my purples into this area. Whoop, and here we are. And as you see, right as I'm ready, this gate should be finished. And voila! I want to make sure that this fiery blowhog doesn't cause any problems. And we're off! Actually, 1 minute. How bad is this Submarine Complex? Submarine Complex 1 is very bad, so I'm just gonna skip it. I can do that. Because I'm ahead, so I was basically able to be like, I don't like how that sub-level looks, I'll just skip that and do other levels. Alright, let's see, what is the layout of this? Alright. So I actually zoom in, because zooming in deloads enemies. I'll deal with that guy. Zoom in. You're down. I don't care, and they will carry that out of the radius of that bomb. So oh, whoops. Scary. You can't lose focus in this game, otherwise you will die. Alright, cool. I was able to get that snitch bug for enemies, for photos as well, which is really nice. Alright, so then they're carrying that, which is good. And when a purple Pikmin downs a flying enemy, the enemy can't get back up. So that's true with the snitch bugs and for the careening dirigibugs, which drop bombs, which are really important to get rid of, because otherwise the bombs, they slow you down if you don't want to kill your entire squad, which generally speaking we don't. Sub-level 3 can be annoying because there's 3 different treasures, so depending on how close or far away they are, this can be a challenging sub-level. Let's see, what do I want to go for first? Okay, so there's 2. I'll deal with that first. So I'm zooming in so that that cannon beetle over there doesn't even see me. So as I was fighting this, oh whoops, they want to grab onto this one instead of the one I want. Come on. No worries, Mandong. So those other treasures get in as I'm quickly carrying that treasure, and where is the hole? The hole is very far away. It's all the way over here. That's unfortunate. Alright. Sometimes sometimes it can be like that, where all the treasures are really close, but then you get sort of aggravated because the hole is really far, and the solution to do that is you just actually want to be more aware of that, and while other things are being multitasked, just move one of your captains closer to the hole. That's what you should do. But I was able to, the buried beetle on the last one can't be stunned, so you have to be very careful into cycling it, because you can't force it to stun. This is a really important rest sub-level. There's a rest sub-level because, of course, there's no enemies and no treasures, but this is where you grow the remaining whites that you need. Because having as many whites as humanly possible is super important. So this was really good RNG because, there's also a lot of purple leaves I want to get rid of, because purple leaves can be really aggravating. And the flowers are really close together, so this was considered really good RNG. So if I'm lucky, I actually will be able to show off a really cool technique on 5. We skip 5, because, oh my goodness, 5 is horrific. The treasures are really far away, there's bombs everywhere, it's an absolute mess. We do a really cool trick here with the knapsack to just move us over to this area. So we can just quickly skip, so we can even more quickly get to the exit to get out of this level. As you can see, there's a bunch of spiders with bombs on their heads, and they sort of act as, you know, they will kamikaze towards you while the bombs go off, and that's really stressful. So skipping the sub-level is really important. Next is sub-level 6. Sub-level 6 is considered one of the harder levels in the game. There are like 3 different hazards that are going on around you at once. So it's really important that you Alright, was able to successfully get that treasure without too much trouble. Too much hassle. And now, but then there's a bunch of hazards over here that I'm going to try to deload until the last second. As you can tell, that bomb right there was really aggravating. So I'm going to try to basically, if I can, kill, This guy, oh my gosh, he's so big. Alright. Ooh. Sort of scary, but I only lost 3 blues. And like I said, blues and reds are, you know, not too important now that especially now that I've drained the lake. That was the main importance for having a lot of blues, just quickly draining the lake. So now that I've done that, the number of blues I have don't really matter. I was still able to quickly deal with all the hazards. The main thing is just not panicking. Because if I had not called off all my Pikmin several times there, I would have either blown all my Pikmin up or shocked them all, and that would have been a reset on this floor. And, but I've done a very good job about managing the hazards. Alright, so the most important thing is there is this, okay, here it is. So there is this boy over here, that's this rogue dude, and this rogue dude will make your life miserable. So what I first do actually is I lure him with that captain while I go fight this tower dude that can't move. Purple Pikmin are busted, part 4. Alright, let's see if this game will cooperate. Okay, good. Wait, nope. Over here. Over here. Good. Okay, and the grunt killed himself, so that's nice. He went out of bounds. So that Korean duration bug just started loading up a bomb, but it won't matter. I was able to let Olmar tank the the volatile Weevil hit instead of it blowing up my Pikmin, which of course is nice because, again, health comes really cheap. Especially after the, the treasure that we got in in Snagret Hole, which halves the amount of health I get. So this was a very good sub-level. After this treasure is gone, then we can exit, which is fantastic. But we are not done yet. In certain instances, we would be actually done here, and we could exit on 8. But just for you, GDQ, I skipped sub-level 1 so I could actually show off this one of the boss fights that I helped. Well, technically, other fellow runner Shadow Lugia was the one that found it, and I helped make it really consistent. A strat for defeating this boss right here, the Man at Legs, which is very scary because it's the only boss that has a gun. You know, most enemies eat you, but this guy will actually shoot your Pikmin if it gets the chance. But luckily, there is a way of basically killing him instantly, sort of like with the Empress, so I'm going to show that off right here. And down. Purple Pikmin are just so busted. I was basically able to abuse the pound and the fact that, see, because it has a lot of armor, but I was basically able to hit it enough times in between the armor to kill it anyway. And the good bonus, normally, Man at Legs is skipped, but the good bonus of doing Man at Legs is we get the solar system, which you get from the Stellar Orb, and that makes all of the sub-levels really bright. So, although I don't usually have trouble seeing where things are, now things will be, you know, perfectly clear. Because I have light. And now I have to get out my 4 purples. And you'll see that the other scrap is halfway. And we will be getting it almost halfway again. During this section. You'll notice that we didn't get the battery on day 1. On the first bout here in Emergence Cave. And that's really important because when you get the first treasure in Valley of Repose, the day automatically ends. So we want the other scrap to get as close to getting collected as possible without actually getting collected. So I'm trying to work fast here so that other scrap doesn't actually get collected, because that would end the day and would lose a lot of time. Of course, I am well ahead of my estimate, so it wouldn't be the end of the world were it to happen. I deload here so that the cannon beetles don't give me any trouble. I also don't want to load this guy until the last moment. Hello, sir. Once again, I can use this purple Pikmin to immediately immobilize the floating enemy so that it doesn't give me any problems. And I'm able to go on to Frontier Cavern, the last cave in Valley of Repose, and another really hard one. And I am entering before it gets collected, which is very important, as you'll see at the end. Frontier Cavern 1 are stressful because there are these doodle bugs that show up, and we don't know where they are. They're randomly dispersed throughout the level. Oh, there's one. They're very annoying because they poison all my Pikmin. And Pikmin love, and Pikmin who have no place attacking them love attacking them. I'm looking for 2 buried treasures. That's one. I'm assuming that the other one is right over here because of game knowledge. Yep, okay. Oh, goodness, the doodle bug woke up an enemy. I have to go deal with that. Doodle bugs can be really annoying because they can wake up Bulborbs. Like, that Bulborb wasn't even in my zone. And he got woken up because of doodle bug stuff. Hello, everyone in chat. But I was able to max load up the enemies for whites on that one, so that's being carried really quickly, and I'll be able to exit still in a reasonable amount of time. It was just it was a bummer that I got slowed down because the doodle bugs decided to wake up that Bulborb over there. But as you can see, as long as you're like really paying attention and focused, you can still clear these levels really quickly. It's just like if I hadn't noticed that it was awake, then he would have gone and he would have eaten all of the purples that I had carrying everything. And that would have been, I mean, at the world record level, that would be a hard reset. Let's see, what are we looking at here? No treasure up there? Good, so that means all of the treasures are right here. Interesting. Oh, alright. Swarming cannon beetles is actually faster. Load up these first and then kill the enemies second, because of course... And down. No suit for you. That treasure is going to get collected, then I'm going to load up the whites on the other treasure, and we're just going to get through it. But as you can see, even though they tried eating the Pikmin, I was able to be aware enough to mitigate all the Pikmin loss, so this isn't bad. It's nice when there's 2 rooms, but both treasures you look for are in each room. So it really, helps keep everything centered. 3 is one of the hardest sublevels in the game. There are 3 treasures. One is in a roaming bullbear that I can't deload. There he is. One is buried, and then one is just unburied. Okay, the AI of the bullbear is really frustrating, so I want him to around that corner. Okay. Why is the bullbear annoying? It's only mega annoying because, as you can see, there are dwarf bullbears that follow the big bullbear everywhere. This can be super aggravating. I want to distract him. Let's see. And then now there's a buried one. I want to see, do you think the buried one is over here? I think it's over here. It is over here. Alright, good. So I was basically able to find everything really, really quickly. Why no sprays? A person in chat asked why I don't get sprays. There are things in Pikmin 2 called sprays that are power-ups, and I haven't gotten them this run, and I won't get them this run. And the short answer to why I don't get sprays is because getting sprays are really slow, and sprays actually don't help you, at least in the levels that we pick, as much as they think we do. However, in this, I was quickly able to... The non-buried treasure is very light, so I was able to just sort of toss 3 Pikmin over there, and they were... Uh-oh. Okay, so... Okay, so this is really aggravating. They decided to go the route that had the electricity versus the one that didn't, and I'm not sure why. So I lost 2 whites to that, which is annoying. So you see, like, they're following, that Bulbmin was distracted by that lone blue Pikmin, so that's why I threw that. Because killing the Bulbmin is slow. If you don't have to combat, then there's a reason why you should. So I actually throw that Pikmin into that corner to lure the other roaming enemy so that it wouldn't bother me. In any case, yeah, the Pikmin decided to carry it through the hazard way that I didn't clear, which is frustrating. But, life goes on. 4 cannot be bad, but you have to watch out for these bumbling stitch bugs that will steal your captains. Luckily, with the power of purple Pikmin, everything's okay. I'm actually going to let it take Olimar, because it distracts it. I got really lucky here. Notice how all of those anode beetles in that corner are, like, really not in my way. I gotta deal with this. So he stole me, but it's fine because I already got things moving. I don't want any Pikmin to be... Oh, nope, they already... I don't want them to bury Pikmin, because if they bury Pikmin, I might have to kill them. Because if you exit a sub-level while Pikmin are buried, they die. And I don't want to kill them, but I will if I have to. You know what? Screw it. They're dying. Nothing I can do about it. Either they die or I exit before they get planted. We'll see what wins. Alright, they didn't get planted yet. Woo! We out there. I got really lucky because 3 of the anode beetles were in positions so I didn't have to kill them. And both treasures in that one were out in the open. This level can be very annoying. We just have to find the Mamuta, which is an enemy that plants Pikmin. We have to find them. We have to find the one that has the treasure using the gauge. I have to kill this guy because he's in the way, even though he doesn't have the treasure. Alright, it's this guy. This guy's now also in the way. Congratulations. Collecting some bugs too, because why not? This treasure is the Brute Knuckles. It is the only special treasure that doesn't come from a boss. And it basically makes your punches super strong. I would say that we don't really do a lot of combat with just captains. There's instances in which it's smart to do, but if you do combat without Pikmin, that treasure is very useful. We skip 6 because 6 is the worst sub-level node to mankind. There's just water, like these cannon beetles, fire. You can't take any of your white Pikmin here. The treasures are super far. This layout is just an absolute mess. And we ignore all of it. Because, wow, that was really bad. 7, there's 1 buried and 1 not buried, and I actually was able to see where the not buried one was off the bat. So now it's time to see exactly how lucky I am. If I'm really lucky, boulders can fall from the sky in here, by the way. That is terrifying. If I'm really lucky... No, it's not there. I'm now going to be scanning dead ends, trying to find where... Yep, it's right here. So this is really lucky because there's a bunch of, as you will see, there's a bunch of orange Bulborbs that are in the other room. But there are no treasures in the other room, so I am not inclined to care. And we actually don't face the last boss on this cave because that's really slow. So we just exit. So these guys are getting carried, and as you can see, okay, yeah, if I go into low view, look at all those enemies. That just, like, there's 3 orange Bulborbs that we just don't have to deal with at all, which is fantastic. And it allows us to focus on the treasures. Alright, and now we exit. Frontier Cavern down. Those were some of the harder caves. Though we were very fortunate in that we got layouts in which we didn't have to actually deal with them, which is nice. So now we're going to be back on the Valley of Repose, and we're going to get a lot of treasures, but first we have to get this utter scrap, which we conveniently moved to be ridiculously close to the ship. And so we load that up with Pikmin, because it's very heavy. And then we collect it right here, and then this is really convenient because this ends the day. And that's why we wanted to move it all this direction so that we can end the day as quickly as possible. So I only lost 4 Pikmin that entire bout, and that I believe that was from just electricity on SCX, Submarine Complex. So that was really good. And now that we have, and so now we're back, obviously, because we have all the treasures to collect. But then once we collect all of the treasures in this sub-level, we can leave and go to a Perplexing Pool, which is the last area of interest. So first we want to take I have reds and blues all serve different roles here, all equally important. The first one I want to take 22 Pikmin, well, at least 20 Pikmin, and get them working on this battery here, which, funnily enough, is the first treasure that we were supposed to collect, but of course we're collecting it much later in the run, which is sort of funny. Then 10 Pikmin up here to dig. We can avoid fighting a boss that's there if we just use the C stick to guide them up there. Then we want 40 of these guys right here. And now the rest of them are digging up the last treasure. You'll notice that we never kill the center Bulborb. It's convenient that the way that the pathing works is they path around the center. And unlike the orange Bulborb, the red Bulborb only wakes up if you touch it, so we don't have to worry about it at all. And there's the first battery that's worth 280. I know here it doesn't seem like we're that close to paying off the debt, but we get so many high value treasures in the next minute or so that it really will put us over the 80% mark, which is really good. Here you see a Snagret that we don't have to worry about. Then we get this guy, the Pink Menace. And as you can see, once again, you know that it was done very well when all of the treasures are coming in at around the same time, which they are. This guy, which we got down in Frontier Cavern, that was the interlude that we did in Frontier Cavern, getting him down onto that level. And this is the fossilized Zeros today, which is worth 160. And this puts us above the 80% mark, so we're almost there, guys. 2 more caves. And then this is not a very valuable treasure, but it's easy to get it around the same time. It doesn't lose us that much time. So we get it, and we're exactly at 8180, which is my Poco goal for this area. And whoops. I can now end the day. I could have actually murdered those. If Pikmin aren't under your control, when the day ends, they die. Now, I could have let those reds die, but I decided to be merciful today. We don't really use reds for the rest of the run, because we have enough blues now that the reds don't matter. And now on to Perplexing Pool. We don't get anything above ground in Perplexing Pool, unless for some reason that we really have to, because it's very slow. So there are 2 caves that we use in Perplexing Pool. There's Glutton's Kitchen, which we go to first, and then Citadel of Spiders, which is a very easy cave that we do last, as a nice last hurrah. But we'll go to Glutton's Kitchen first, which uses, yet again, a very clever knapsack. First, we have to get out all of our Pikmin. We have enough Pikmin here that we don't really need to get our reds. You want as many Pikmin as possible, so if you murdered a bunch of blues in Valley of Repose, which is really easy to do, by the way, then you'd get out reds as well, but we have enough blues that we actually don't need reds for the rest of the run, which is really convenient. And we go all the way over here, and then we're going to knapsack to avoid knocking down another electric gate, further solidifying yellows, which you see in the upper right corner is obsolete. We don't need them at all. So I take this one white, and I'm going to be using this to hop onto this ledge here. Oops. It's going to be a finicky knapsack. There we go. Right onto that ledge. Whistle all the Pikmin, and then we can really use the extended range at which Pikmin will follow you, that we don't even have to bring that many Pikmin up, that they're all with me below the scales. And so this is moving in onto the last cave. The second to last cave. Glutton's Kitchen is the last really hard cave. We skip 1 because 1 has a lot of enemies and a 30 value treasure, which is not very important to us. 2, there is a cookie and there is a bottle cap, and we only want the bottle cap, so it doesn't matter if the cookies get it. However, in Glutton's Kitchen there are things called bread bugs which can steal the treasure, so the most important thing is that the treasure is not stolen. So that's why I'm moving really fast right here, just making sure that that treasure does not get taken. Come on, good. So that treasure was almost taken by that bread bug, but I was able to max load it with whites before that happened. So I'm lucky in that respect. I wanted it to be loaded with a little bit more whites, but I honestly can't complain, because if I had tried to stop and focus on the building, then they would have grabbed onto that, then the red bug would have grabbed that treasure, and I would have lost like 30 seconds or so. So working fast in this case was the most important thing, which I did. And the cookie is up there, which is very hard to get to. I can if I want to, but I don't need to get the cookie because it's only worth 25. I had to get both treasures here. This is another one we're at really high risk of bread bugs stealing our loot. Let's not have that happen. Oh, you see, there's the bread bug. It wants to steal our stuff. So now I'm just gonna make sure that I kill all these anode beetles to make sure that they don't, you know, shock all my people. I was able to immobilize the blowhog there. The blowhog will blow over your Pikmin, and that's of course really unfortunate. But I was able to basically distract it with a bunch of purples. So I don't actually have to do any of that. I'm really having the light in this sublevel has been a huge blessing, because if I didn't have light from the Mana Legs in Submarine Complex, I might not have seen that the red bug was going for the first treasure that I collected, which is called the Harmonic Synthesizer, and it would have gotten stolen, and I could have lost, you know, a lot of time. But luckily, I was able to react quickly enough to make it work. This 4 can be really challenging because the treasure can be really high that it wants you to get it with yellows, so you would have to use a trick to get it, if it's up there, but I see that it's not, so I'm just gonna quickly kill this bull bear, which are very terrifying enemies if you do not know how to quickly deal with them. Great. GK4 is also notorious for having crashes occur. The game can just randomly crash on you because it hates you. I'm really fortunate that that is not what is happening. I'm going to deload to try to prevent a crash from occurring. Crashes aren't very common, but you can imagine that even if you only crash once every couple months or so, if you just get a crash in the middle of a really good run, it's, there's nothing more aggravating. Unfortunately, that has happened to some of the top runners in this category in the past. It's very unfortunate. But I was able to kill the red bugs in this one usually aren't that much of a problem, and I was able to get all the treasures moving from the bull bear and on the ledge really quickly. This was very fast. This next sub-level is actually really terrifying. You can lose a lot of Pikmin here, and we try to minimize that because there's a lot of dwarf bull bears that are very strong for being dwarves, and a bunch of cannon beetles that we just ignore because they're too slow. No way. So Matites have made this split very slow. This is an unfortunate turn of events. I just lost a lot of Pikmin on the split because of the Matites. But there's very little I can do about that. This is in the end of the run where these kind of things matter a little bit less, but it doesn't make it hurt. It still hurts. That's a 5% chance of that happening. Luckily, I just was sort of able to, you know, try to juke them as much as possible, but the Matites make the Pikmin freak out. So there's very little that can be done when like that happens, because the Matites are, you know, created to create chaos. And so only not losing most of my whites and most of my purples on that is good enough, for considering that, you know, there's less than 10 minutes left in the speedrun. 6 is actually it's just the bread bugs. So in this one, it's actually the opposite of where we want the bread bugs to latch onto treasures, because it allows us to kill the boss really quickly, which is just a giant bread bug. As you can see. So I'm just gonna wait for it to grab onto something. Whoops. What do you want to put? Alright, so now the bread bug, so the main big guy is dead, which is the important part. And so this is well executed, because then all the rest of the treasures are going to be coming really, really shortly. The magic number when all is said and done is 9340. So hopefully we hit that really soon. I'm confident that we will, because that guy just came in. Wow, it's awesome seeing them all coming out at the same time. So we're 6 Pokos behind, but I'm just gonna wait for the boss to come in so that we are exactly on pace, so I don't have to collect any bugs in Citadel spiders. And we're done. Overall, a very solid Glutton's Kitchen, except the 15 Pikmin deaths. Woof. No, this is not PB pace, for the people in chat asking. But the good news is that, this PB, of course, would be world record, and this is not world record. Mostly because something that I actually never really talked about is that, because I lost 15, I'm gonna grab some reds. That I'm running with a memory card right now, because, of course, at a marathon, you always run with a memory card just in case the worst happens. You know, not 15 Pikmin dying, but 80 or something. From, like, a freak accident, which goodness knows that marathons is always a possibility. Yeah, you see, this is not PB base. But, I'm running with a memory card, and running with a memory card is slightly slower. It's faster to not do so. We actually, but on these loads, if you don't have a memory card, these loads in between sub-levels are, like, a little bit faster, like a half second faster than my memory card loading, so, it loses about a minute overall. So, I mean, it's impossible, really, for a world record to happen on one of these kinds of runs. But in any case, after skipping one, I was able to basically get all of these treasures really quickly. So all we have in this one is 3. But you see, one was in the Wollywog, which I immediately killed. One got picked up by the Dweeble that I was able to immediately take down while the gate was being broken down. This one has to be dug up. But whoops. But I don't have to worry about bugs now, because I know exactly how many, I'm actually 4 Pokos. I'm going to be 4 Pokos ahead of what I need to be. Great, perfect. A great 2. We skipped 1 and 4. This is on this last cave. And this cave, as you can see, is not very difficult compared to the other caves in Valley of Repose 2. But, so it's 2 and 3. And you're gonna see me play a lot faster and a lot sloppier because, the game doesn't care how many Pikmin you have at the end. So if I lose, like, 10 Pikmin or so, it doesn't matter that much. The real test is... So here's one treasure. The question is the other treasure also here? It is! Alright, great RNG. Is there a thing in front of the hole, though? Is there not? Wow, there isn't. Okay. So they are going to plant a lot of Pikmin, and I'm gonna lose them all, because that's how this game works. But the good news is that it doesn't really matter. So this was great RNG. There's actually a good gold split. Because everything was super well executed. As you see, I'll be 98. We're getting down there, only 200 more. And there's exactly 200 on the last level of this cave. This is only a 5 sub-level cave. So, we exit here. Yeah, this could gold split, actually, if 4 is really good. I just gotta get out of 4 as close as possible. So if the hole is close, that's what a good 4 means. It was actually a good gold split because of how tight I played that. Yeah, this is very far away, which is unfortunate. Oh. No gates. This is really good. Huh. I can't believe I'm getting a gold split in a GDQ submission. There are 2 treasures here. This is the only final floor with 2 treasures besides the final boss of this game, which in the all treasure speedrun. But this is the last boss we have to fight. It's called BD Longlegs. It is a nice spider, and I'm gonna try to quick kill it. The quick kill this one is very finicky, but the backup, if I don't quick kill it, is still ridiculously fast. So. So I didn't get the super quick kill, but this is still pretty quick. Lost like 2 purples there, but it's fine. Great. So that's 100. That's 100, and we have successfully paid off the debt. It was a wild ride, a lot of different routing and fighting enemies and collecting treasures, but it's nice. We route it like this so that one of the easier caves is the last cave that we have to play, which is super nice. And this is the key which unlocks challenge mode, which is a completely different speedrun category for those interested. And now we've hit 100. All that's left is to wait for the credits to start and exit this cave. So this will actually gold split, which is sort of funny. And time is going to be coming up really soon. Time comes basically right after this text goes away. Boom. So that's 14447. And so yeah, so this was pay off debt. Now the credits would start, and if you were curious, you could play post game, but we aren't going to be doing that. My world record is almost 3 minutes faster than this, but and there was a lot that went wrong, panicking and a lot of unfortunate mistakes and whatnot. But I still got 144, so I'm thinking that a ridiculously safe marathon time would be 155. Because 144 is pretty good. I can't really see myself being slower than 150. And so, of course, doing Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I think 155 is a safe estimate that there's no way I would be slower than that. I guess once again, every run in Pikmin 2 is different because every layout is going to be different. So, this is how I played this submission. I could play, but, the challenges that I'll face and the routing that I have to do at AGDQ will be completely different, and I'm excited for myself and a lot of my other Pikmin 2 speedrunners that are going to be there to live commentate that and really showcase, how fun this speedrun can be and how much thought and time the community has put into it. And I know that Pikmin 2 is a fan favorite for those that like the Pikmin series, so for viewers and fans of the Nintendo series and fans of Nintendo games, I know that they would really appreciate seeing Pikmin 2 in the large speedrunning spotlight for the first time ever. So I'm really excited to be submitting this run. I hope that I hope to be at AGDQ 2019 representing this game. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you guys. Alright, yeah, so I'm probably just gonna highlight that and download that and make that my submission. This was